Welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast with your host, hailing from Kokona, Wisconsin, riding a CST Tires SSI decals traveling back Yamaha YFC 450R, four-time ATV Motocross National Champion, number 25, Cody Jansen.
What's up, everybody? We're back. Welcome to the latest edition of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, episode 92 of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, CST Tires, in stock and available for purchase today at shop.csttires.com. I'm your host, Cody Jansen, saying hello to our more than 173,000 monthly Digging Deep listeners in all 94 countries in which you are listening, and we have a great episode in store for you tonight. Joel Hetrick is here to chat about what was truly a perfect year for him and his family. We'll get into everything leading up to and through the clinching of his 2022 AMA ATV Pro Motocross National Championship. And then our 2022 Digging Deep ATV Fantasy champ will join us for a fun conversation. Curtis Evelo stops by for a fun conversation about how ATV Fantasy sparked an increased fandom for him and his son. So stick around for that, because that chat was truly a blast and goes far beyond ATV Fantasy talk. And spoiler, this guy deserved to win. But before dropping the gate on another awesome podcast, shout out to all of our incredible partners. CST Tires, go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Thanks to SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Nemura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Impact Solutions, Launaville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, the financial advice of the Haymauer Financial Group, Forworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Factory 43, Integrated Financial Concepts and their Safe to Race and Safe to Ride insurance programs, Binky's Forever ATC Museum, Blendzall Oil, the official oil choice of Digging Deep, Evans Waterless Power Sports Coolant, Walsh Racecraft, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Manscaped's signature line, the Performance Package 4.0, includes the new Lawnmower 4.0 electric trimmer that I rely on to help keep my beard on point, the best nose hair trimmer ever created, and an array of goodies like deodorant, boxer briefs, a travel bag, and more. So check out Manscaped, I wish I would have sooner, and get 20% off with free shipping by using code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. So rad that Manscaped is investing in ATV racing as a longtime partner of ours, and help us keep them in the fold and involved in ATV racing by using our Digging Deep 20 code, so they know that you enjoy digging deep and what we're all about here. Support all these great companies that support us, and for any products that fall through the cracks, click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website to help us out. The 2022 season may be coming to an end. Riding isn't, however. Shout out to everyone that came out last weekend for our first annual Digging Deep ATV Ride Day at Pachetta Creek MX in Ohio. So much fun. But whether it's fall riding or already prepping for next season, we both know you still need parts and gear. No matter what off-road gear parts you need, Rocky Mountain ATVMC has you covered. But before you buy, simply click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website. By using our specific link, we get a percentage of what you buy on the back end, enabling you to help us out while purchasing the parts you need anyway. And did you know that you can buy OEM parts from Rocky Mountain ATVMC as well? Yep, shipped conveniently right to your door. So click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner at diggingdeepatvmx.com to help us out while satisfying all your gear and parts needs. No new donors to shout out this week, but if you are interested in donating and hearing your name on the show, you can find the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee donation links on our website. Major thanks to everyone who has donated. You guys freaking rock. And now it's showtime. The 30-second board is up, it's sideways, and the gate is down. Time to dig deep. Let's go. All right, guys, this is a conversation I've been anxiously awaiting, the conversation you've all been waiting for, brought to you by our friends at Yamaha and their industry-leading, race-winning, and now, with this guy's help, 9-time championship-winning YFZ 450R. Check out their full off-road lineup today at YamahaOutdoors.com, presenting the new, reigning, defending, undisputed champion of the ATV racing world, your 2022 AMA ATV Pro Motocross National Champion, Mr. Joel Hetrick. Joel, welcome back to the show, my friend. It's been a little over 2 weeks now since you clinched this thing, but I bet you're still on cloud nine, huh?
Yeah, thank you, Cody. Definitely still on cloud nine. I've been watching the recap videos, the Rip It Up Films videos, just like constantly. I feel like wanting to do more, wanting to ride more, but it's just a super cool feeling watching that experience that, I had at Loretta's, and just it's really cool.
Well, I think, during the season, I'm sure you don't live on this like week to week thing as far as like taking it all in, right? I'm sure you're not like riding the highs of winning races. It's on to the next one. It's always on to the next one. So the fact that you get done with this, crazy ride and are now taking it in and reliving it week by week is actually pretty special. I think I would do the exact same thing.
Yeah, man, it is really special. And I think that's why I just like, I don't know, it was like a habit. Like I had to go watch it and just, relive it every day. I thought it was like just the coolest thing ever to watch how I was riding and the aggression, and just, I don't know, you could see it in some of the video clips of, me riding and my facial expressions. Like, it was a serious day, but it was a really, really good day.
Yeah. So we'll get to Loretta's eventually. One of the things that I think is so special about you is I think that you truly, you really wear your emotions on your sleeve, especially like at the highest of high moments. You remind me of other athletes, triumphing and stuff like that. It's just, you let it out, and I love to see that. But I want to take it back to kind of the beginning and go, over the course of your season, kind of break it down. So we had you on the show here, and we talked after your tone setting win at Daytona, the season opener there, where we saw you let out all that emotion, like I was referencing, after that opening round victory. And starting that very day, Joel, all the way through the finale, you were totally in control of this title, which is something that you had never done in the previous championships that you had won. You were the points leader, the red plate holder from day one all the way through the finale. So is that how it felt to you? Like, is that how it felt like you had a leg up on these guys throughout the thing? Because it just seemed to me, watching it all play out, like you were in control from the very beginning.
Yeah, man. It's weird that like that's how it looked, but in my shoes, like I dealt with a lot of sickness, at the races, where I would wake up, and feel like, man, this is, I just don't know if I'm going to be able to do it today. And there was, a couple races back to back where I felt like that. Aona Pass being one of them, with like a stomach bug, and then Texas, Three Palms, man, you could hear it on the interviews. Like I couldn't even talk.
Right.
And I don't know what the heck that was about, but I just kept saying, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And like when I came out of those races and finished how I finished, I just told myself, like, man, I need to get 100%, because I can do some real damage right now. And then I think that's where I kind of like put it into perspective, like where I felt like I did have a little bit of an edge. And if I could get everything dialed in and myself 100%, like I'm going to be, a hard guy to beat.
Yeah. And I think that we saw this early on too, but it seemed to me like that whole program of yours, with the new machine, with the Yamaha, with everything. I mean, there's some different components this year and stuff, but it seemed like your program was on another level from last year. Like it seemed so efficient. You guys were spot on with everything. I mean, it just seemed like you guys never missed a beat.
Yeah. I think that just comes with the experience of having that Yamaha for a couple of years now, and everyone on the team really, busting their butt to get a really good package. And, it is a really good package, and it's a really good package built around me that's very rideable, that I can, just push the envelope, but also not get wore out doing it. Like we just come up with a really, really good setting. And, DASA has an awesome motor in there for us, and Impact Solutions tuning those Elkas. Like I think that's a big deal too. And then now running the FMF pipe, the power delivery was a lot different than last year. So
sure,
I feel like it helped loosen up the bike a little bit, and just figuring little things out, gearing and stuff like that. It's just kept evolving, and now the bike is like, I don't know. If you were at Loretta's, you'd hear how strong the motor is, and if you're at the races, like you would see how good it works. Like it's good.
Yeah. The thing we referenced on the last show with Casey, that you could tell that that thing was pretty strong. We heard that thing late into the night there on Saturday night, Joel. That thing wouldn't give up the ghost. But tell me about. So tell me, I wanted to ask you all season about this, and I seem to forget every time we had you on the show. But the get unit that you're using, and I believe that you're really just, I mean, that only benefits a person on the starts, right? But tell me about that. Was that something that I guess tell the listeners what it is, and then if that was something that you really felt like you benefited from.
So it's basically, you got your Vortex ECU, or you can have a Get ECU, and our team runs Get. And like you said, it is an advantage for the whole shot having the dash that I ran on the front of my hood. It's an RPM gauge, and I set it to where I typically do my starts. And for a good portion of the season, my starts were pretty good. And then we actually unhooked that dash because I don't know, I thought I wasn't using it, and then my start kind of went downhill. So I feel like I need that dash to kind of really focus on where I need to be out on the throttle.
Okay.
But yeah, the Get's programming, like if I was a tuner, I guess they like it better because it has some perks to it. We collected a lot of data through it using the O2 sensor and stuff like that, and being able to see, on the track where the bike, maybe would miss a beat or would hesitate, or they could tell if I'm full of crap. So it's a pretty cool tool, and I feel like it helped a lot this year with just the tuning aspect.
Got it. So the thing with Phoenix, obviously being, kind of a primarily motorcycle team or whatever, I don't know if that's how you'd refer to it, but most of the riders are dirt bike guys. And it's actually kind of cool because that's kind of where Get comes from, right? I mean, they're big in the two-wheeled world, and it's kind of cool how like you run some more dirt bike centric stuff. I mean, I think of, guts and some components that are more in the dirt bike world. You've brought them to the ATV world, and then to put them on top, like it's actually like a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. Like UFO with the hand guards this year, just little stuff like that. Like you said, I feel like, not ODI being a dirt bike company, but they're a big company for bikes, and like that's a big supporter of our team. So like you said, we are, bringing that a little bit to the ATV world. Obviously the products are really good.
It's cool to just be different, I mean, so much of the ATV world is like all the same, think about years ago when you and so many guys, like every single person ran fly gear and stuff like that. And now, it's just cool to run some different stuff. So you started this 2022 season on an absolute tear. You win each of the first 4 events, and then comes Ironman. So you and I chatted that morning, but no one could have ever predicted what would take place later that day. And that could have been a huge opportunity for Chad Wienen or yourself as far as points are concerned. So tell me about that day, because it looked like at one point, like you were down and out basically, and then you get the machine going again. You end up going 1-5 for second overall somehow, which is wild. I don't even think you were on the lead lap, and then you only give up a single point that day to Chad Wienen, and that ended up being a kind of a really big deal as far as this championship is concerned. So tell me about that day, because it seems like everybody, as far as Ironman goes, has a different story to tell.
Yeah, wow, that race was just insane. Like, probably maybe shouldn't even have went out for second moto. Not just me, but the whole class, like, probably should have stopped. Whatever. Yeah. Sure, better calls were made, but it should have. And so Moto 1, I won, was feeling great. And I'm like, all day I'm asking my dad, he's like super into the Weather Channel, it's all he watches.
Okay.
You want to know weather? Like, that's who I ask about weather. And he's like, yeah, it's going to rain. I'm like, there ain't no effing way it's going to rain. It looks great outside.
Dude, it looked perfect. It really did.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we just, here it comes. You could feel it. You feel the wind coming. You're like, it's game over.
Yeah.
And it was literally game over. I mean, it poured down rain. The track was a river, basically. And we're on the line, and it's just pouring. And I didn't even make it one lap. I made it to the checker, basically, right at the bottom of it, and just sat there and pushed the electric start forever. I'm like about to run the battery dead. So we just I came to the conclusion, like, it's not going to work. Like, we got to figure something else out. And then Harv was standing right on the side of the track, the referee. And I'm like, can we help each other? And he goes, yeah. So once he said that, man, I think Cody Ford and I started pushing my quad, and then like Allred came over, and Decker and Torini, and like, helped me get it up to the top of the finish line, basically. And then at that point, it's like, do whatever you want. And Cody Ford's like, you better effing help me. So obviously, like, I wouldn't leave him hanging. He helped me, instantly. So I run back down. We push his up to a certain point, and Zach and Allred like they were getting their bike up. So everyone was helping each other, and it was just a disaster. But I ended up getting, once we got everyone to a certain spot, I got on my quad and bump started it, and it went. So I just ran it with the basically clutch, just on fingers on the clutch and just wide open, trying to keep it running for the remainder of the race. As my mechanics tell me, like, you're in 7th, you're in 6th. And I'm like, where am I passing? Like,
Right.
I just need to keep doing laps and I might win.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had no idea where I was at in the race, like how I was even in 5th, come off. I knew I did okay because everyone's telling me to go to the podium. So went up there, and obviously other people weren't thrilled on what was going on. So
yeah,
big ordeal up there happened. And
yeah.
So for me to only lose 1 point that day, I can't complain.
No, so that was something that I remember us talking about at the time, that it was pretty commendable on your part that you didn't just bolt as soon as you got that thing up to the top of the finish line. Like, you actually went back and helped the dudes that helped you.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal. And then, yeah, I mean, after the race, like, emotions were running high. It was craziness. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, like you said, the track was like a river. It was crazy. The wettest part in wherever you looked, the wettest part was the actual track itself, because it was hard packed. So it wasn't soaking in. It was just on top. It was wild. I'm so happy to have been there that day, because again, I will never, ever forget that day, for one. And two, you couldn't describe to somebody what it was like had you not been there, because where the tower was, like, we couldn't see like down the finish line there. I'm sure you've like been up there or whatever, like, like you couldn't see that last corner of the racetrack. So it was just wild to watch guys come through on the first lap when like 3 guys went through. So like, so many people died right down there in that corner, and 2 of them were you and Chad. It was like, what are we seeing right now? So wild to go through that race, and then wild, like you said, to only give up a single point on the day. I mean, that had to feel like a serious bullet dodged.
Yeah, I was pretty mad on the track, because I'm like, well, when Chad was right beside me, I wasn't obviously mad. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm okay. This is okay for me right now. Well, his bike starts, and I'm like, oh my God. Here we go
again. That's what you had to be feeling.
Yeah, I'm like, this place effing hates me, man. Like, I've just had the worst luck here with mechanicals and just BS stuff happen. I'm like, this can't be happening. So like, I was just determined to get it to run after that. Like, I was thinking like, mine's going to start. His started, mine will start. And it wouldn't start on its own. There's no way. So fortunate that, I was able to get to the top of the hill and get going, because that saved me 10, 15 points easily.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Would have changed the whole season. So crazy how that all went down. And really, that weekend there kickstarted what I believe was the most pivotal period of this title run for you. We've mentioned it on previous episodes, but I've yet to say it to you. So starting at Ironman, Chad gets hot, right? He wins 4 of 5 overalls heading into the finale. But during that 5 event stretch, you actually extended your points advantage over Chad. That's how consistent you were this season, which is obviously something that majorly benefited you in this title run. So Chad made up a single point at Ironman. You 2 tied for event points at Sunset Ridge. Briarcliff is where you piled on 8 more. That was obviously pivotal. You had a perfect day there. He made up 6 points at Pleasure Valley, and then you tied again at Redbud. So over the course of that time, you actually gained a point, even though he won 4 of 5. So I thought that was so crazy how in control you were with this thing. Even when the overalls weren't coming, you were still very much positioning yourself for this title. And honestly, like I said, I mean, it was just wild to see how consistent you were this season. And Casey referenced at the beginning, he kind of recalled on our last episode, you saying at the first race, how about that for not being consistent? How about that for not, whatever, riding within your means, all those things. And you showcased that in the heart of that season. And I mean, here you are, you ended up having a whole moto advantage, and that was a big part of that.
Yeah, man. Like, the points, I really had a strategy and a goal for myself, and it was going in the right direction until Pleasure Valley. And Pleasure Valley like slapped me in the face a little bit. And I was pretty mad about that race, honestly. Like, I was the fastest guy on the track, and I did everything I could, but like what I was trying to do to pass him was affecting me in a way that like it was going to spin me out. Hope was going to get around me, so I'm going to lose points. And in my head, I'm like, I can finish second every race right now and be fine. So I'm not losing more points because that's what he wants, obviously. And I don't know, like you said, I had that strategy, that goal. Pleasure Valley, like that was the only race all year long I was flustered, and that's why I made that mistake in second moto because I wanted to win so bad.
Right.
But other than that, like that was the only time where I got to the old Joel where he just went out and rode ballistic. But yeah, the strategy was to get 40 points actually by the time I got or left Redbud. So I wanted to go into Loretta's with 40 points, and I went in there with 28. Came out with 34. So it worked out, but it just wasn't as comfortable as I wanted it to be. And I'd planned in my head. Like that Pleasure Valley race really got me. And I was like so surprised.
Yeah. Well, I mean, looking at the finale, I mean, to go in there with a moto advantage to get it in that first moto, I think was, I mean, that was big. So yeah, I was pretty comfortable, Joel, but talking about Pleasure Valley, man, looking at that race, looking at what could have happened when you came up short on that triple, man, it was wild to me to look at that, because if that thing would have stayed sideways and spit you off and a collarbone or a shoulder or something, that's all I could think of at that time. And thank God that didn't happen.
I know, man. Like I think my eyes were closed when I initially cased, just because I'm like, oh, I'm wrecking, man. I'm 100% wrecking.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah. I say to people, hey, I say to people all the time, when you commit to crashing, you're like, I've already given up. I'm going to crash. Like I know that feeling. And then all of a sudden, somehow you hang on to this thing.
Yeah. Like all of a sudden I steered into it and I'm flat and I'm like, oh my God. So I in the video, like put it in neutral and I'm like, well, hey, I got to try to get second now.
Here we go. Yeah.
That's it. And that's what I did. I just rode as hard. Like you could see in that moto, I rode probably too hard. I was being too aggressive. Like I didn't need to keep pushing after I got to second. But like I said, that was the only race all year where I was irritated that I couldn't get around a Moto 1. And then I butchered my second moto start again. And just, that was it. Like someone asked me recently, did you have any setbacks for 2022 season? And honestly, the biggest setback was hole shots. Like just not where they need to be. Like everything else is where it needed to be, but my starts hindered me at some races like Pleasure Valley, where you needed a start to potentially get a win, I guess you should say. Yeah,
for sure. But I mean, first or second, Joel, in every moto, but Moto 2 at Ironman, right? So first and second in every other moto than that one, that's going to be a championship winning season. If you can do that every year, you're going to win a championship every single year.
Yeah, man, that statistic is going to be hard to beat. That fifth place, we eliminate that, man, that is first and you don't beat that type of score with a guy that gets, that many firsts, and if he's not getting first, he's getting second. That's what Chad has done to us for, his championship years. And, I just felt like I could be in that position to do that. And I felt like this was a year to do it. Everything was working awesome. And I just did it.
We'll get right back to the show, but now a word from our sponsors. And thank you for listening to these ads. Without these great companies, none of this would be possible. Show your support for the people who support us. We used to speak of a CST takeover, but now 2022 is the year of CST supremacy. CST's Pulse MXR tires are the choice of Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, and Nick Janusa, meaning CST tire riders are in contention for pro class wins and a possible podium sweep every time they hit the racetrack. CST tires are also the official tire choice of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, but you already knew that. I, your host Cody Jansen, helped pioneer the CST takeover with Pulse MXR fronts and white label soft compound rears on my way to back-to-back national championships and a pro sport podium to cap off the 2021 season. The Pulse MXR tire, available in soft and standard compounds, offer the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics when compared to the competition. Did I mention they offer contingency payouts as well? Visit shop.CST Tires to join the CST takeover today or prepare to be beat by someone who did. Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Nick Janusa, myself, and so many more believe and trust in CST Tires. Do you? You already know we're Team Blue Crew now more than ever here at the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. And whether it's 8-time and reigning ATVMX Pro Class National Champion Chad Wienen, who with his next championship will become the winningest champion in ATV motocross history, or 7-time and current XC1 Pro ATV GNCC National Champion Walker Fowler, who is now tied for second all-time in titles won, it's clear the podium-proven Yamaha YFZ450R is the winning choice of sport ATVs. This continued and unprecedented success for the Yamaha YFZ450R, its unrivaled quality and performance, and the undisputable fact that Yamaha is the leading OEM supporter of ATV racing has resulted in an ever-growing Yamaha takeover within the sport quad market. Best yet, Yamaha's Blue Crew Racer Support Program is back and stronger than ever here in 2022, meaning Yamaha riders will once again cash in on payouts and prize opportunities, including a chance to win a brand new YFZ450R. For more info, head over to YamahaBlueCrew.com, follow them at Yamaha Outdoors on social media, and check out Yamaha's full proven off-road lineup at YamahaOutdoors.com today. SSI Decals is a name synonymous with ATV racing, synonymous with big-time success, and absolutely synonymous with the best-looking decals around. An offshoot of their parent company that was established in 1947, SSI first took shape from owner Ian Harris's passion for ATVs. With what started as just making numbers and decals for riders like Chad Wienen, the company quickly took off, and today you couldn't imagine ATV motocross without SSI decals. The graphics maker and designer now supports all the top teams in ATV motocross, as well as teams and riders racing GNCC, Work Series, Pro Motocross and Supercross, Canadian Pro Motocross, short course off-road trucks, UTVs, snowcross, and, oh yeah, 6-time world champion top fuel drag racer Clay Milliken. No project is too big or too small for SSI decals, making your identity stick with championship level graphics. Head over to SSIDecals.com today and then maybe call the doctor because things are about to get sick. The Digging Deep ATVMX podcast is brought to you in part by DID and their wide range of championship winning chains. From the street to the track and everywhere in between, DID chains are designed to give you the optimal riding experience with great performance and increased chain life. Consistent to the core, pick up your box of reliability today. DID, what drives you?
We are proud to be partnered with Namura Technologies. Since 2001, Namura has led the charge in the ATV and side-by-side market, covering more applications than anyone else in the industry. Namura's advanced piston technology uses a NASA-exclusive aluminum alloy that helps to reduce expansion rates, allows for tighter tolerances, and leads to higher overall engine performance for your machine. For more information about Namura's wide offerings of pistons, rings, gaskets, industry-leading top-end repair kits, and recently added connecting rods, visit your local dealer or online at www.namura.com. Namura Technologies, your one-stop shop engine component supplier. We are pleased to be partnered with Bronco ATV and UTV Components. Bronco has been an industry leader in replacement hard parts and accessories for all makes and models for over 15 years. With a catalog that includes a full line of electrical components, engine internals and cylinders, shock and suspension parts, winches, clutch kits, valves, carb kits, bearing kits, and drive chain parts, Bronco is your hard parts source for whatever you need, for whatever you ride. Available exclusively through distributors around the world, visit your local dealer or online at broncoatv.com.
Forworks Carbon's innovative lightweight products include top-notch seat covers, carbon fiber and plastic hoods, gas tank covers, exhaust shields, shock guards, and much more. Whether you have an ATV, UTV, or snowmobile, Forworks has the goodies that will improve your ride and make you salivate. We trust Forworks for increased function and a sexier look, and you should too. Forworks Carbon, always working hard to bring high quality and innovative parts to the market. Check them out today at fwcarbon.com.
So you go into Loretta's then with this big 28-point advantage, not as big as you wanted, but it still felt pretty darn big from the outside looking in. And for you, that's kind of almost got to be a weird feeling because I'm sure like you want to protect it at the last round, but at the same time, you have to ride as you normally do because when you start riding to protect, that's when weird things can happen. So what were you thinking going into the finale there?
Yeah, it was still pretty nervous, obviously, because like in my head, like the 28 points just wasn't cutting it. I don't know. Like I just thought, you know, I did the math down to the last position I could get both motos and it was no matter what going to be okay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know, like 28 points, what I wanted to do, like what everyone was telling me to do, you know, was just ride as normal because like you said, you start riding slower, you start riding out of your zone that you're normally in. Like you're going to make a mistake. Something weird's going to happen. Like you said. And so I asked Dean Baker, I'm like, what would you do? He's like, 1-1-1. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, Carly's telling me just like, you get second the first moto, you're good. All you do is start the second moto and you got it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, my goal was to win the first moto and then just ride as hard as I can the second moto.
Mm-hmm.
Just because in the years past, like I've won the championship but lost the race. So I really wanted to win it all. And that was it. After Moto 1, I was like, this is it, man. Like I'm jumping that jump. I'm tripping the 10 commandments, which I didn't do, but I was like, I'm doing everything.
Yeah. But that's exactly what you did then, and I think that this is something that we've said before, but the safest place for you to be is out front. So it was a little spicy there on the first lap of Moto 1. It got a little interesting. It really did. Like I had my arms in the air, like it got a little sketchy, but after that, I mean, the safest place for you to be was out front. You did your thing in that first moto, and then you uncorked it, dude, in the second moto. So literally, like what you wanted to do there at the finale is exactly what you ended up doing.
Yeah. It really was exactly what I wanted to do, and it was fun doing it. Just that second moto, like, I don't know. I rode with aggression, and like I rode that if whatever happened, it didn't matter. But I don't know. I felt really comfortable going that pace, and it was fun to like dice it up with Max and at the beginning of that race, and like you said, Moto 1. Oh my god,
dude, that was so sketchy.
So sketchy. And I watched Tremelon's video he put out, and I'm like, holy! I was like, I could have just tucked a wheel with his and went flipping. That's Moto 1. And then I go around before the finish line, I almost eat crap again.
So on some of the pictures, even it looks like both of the quads are in the exact same spot. Like you can't tell. It looks like they're on top of each other.
Yeah, man. He was giving it to me, like it was really cool because he got the start and I kind of was on the right side of him. So like I throttled up. He saw I was going to go out wide. He blows out wide. So I knew he was going to go out wide. So I cut under him. I'm right on the inside of him. Like, oh, dude, I got you right now. There's nothing I can do. And, so we're going down that straight into that left-hander. And I just, when he started hitting the brakes, I started hitting the brakes. I just blocked him. And it just felt really cool. And like, I told a couple people this, and I don't know, like, what kind of remark it was, honestly. Like, I really still don't know. But Chad came off from that moto and, like, obviously waited for him, shook his hand, good job. And he said, nice move. And I'm like, oh, man, I know what he's talking about. But I didn't even know what to say. I'm like, thanks. Like, I don't know if he was like, nice move. Like, that was interesting, or like he was like genuinely like, that was pretty smart. I don't know. I still don't know. Maybe when he gets on here next, you ask him.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe we'll have to, I think maybe it was just a respect. I was like, holy shit. Like he squared me up and got me there. He probably didn't expect it, but I guess maybe this is the best time to throw this in there. But one thing I wanted to comment on at some point was the appreciation that you must have for him and vice versa. Like, obviously, you two are both crazy competitive, top tier competitors, but think about what, at least as fans, like we sit and watch these races and it would be so boring if one of you wasn't there, and for you too. I mean, I'm sure when you're practicing, when you're training, when you're in the gym, when you're like, going to sleep at night, thinking about, the next race or whatever, inevitably you're thinking about him and he's thinking about you. And I got to believe that at the end of the day, like there's a ton of respect there for one, but you got to kind of appreciate the other guy, because without him, this wouldn't be nearly as fun.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we talk about that a lot in this house. Like we're, like he is obviously the best of the best, like 8-time champ. That's in my eyes, like with the competitors he's raced and the tracks he's raced and the years that I've been in it with him, like the hard guy to beat. And he does a lot of his program himself. You can't but not respect that type of work ethic and that type of ability to go that fast. Because I know for me, like sometimes there's just like a switch that I flip and it's just like a dummy switch. Like it don't matter what happens on the track. Like I don't even think about it. I'm just going as hard as I can go. And it's like no fear. That's what some like you ride with no fear. I'm like, I get that. And there's not a lot of people that do that. But for a guy that, that I compete against to do that same thing that I'm doing, like it's really respectable to go that fast on a full wheeler at some of these tracks we go. And, just really cool that we're doing it to that level right now. Like, I just watched Ironman's outdoor motos from the bikes and watching Ace and Tomac kind of do what we do to their field of racing. It's like, man, those dudes are on another level. And someone told me they're like, that's you and Chad, like you're on that level of your sport. Yeah. And it really hit me like that is true. Like we're beating guys by a minute at some tracks, and like that, where do you stop? Like we're not slowing down for that period of time. And it's like the pace that we're going is just unreal.
Yeah. It's crazy you say that, 'cause I was literally thinking that watching those races this weekend, that you guys are the ATV equivalents of that. And yeah, like I'm sure your top level, I mean, he's pushed you to be where you are and vice versa. And it's just amazing. I mean, you guys are at the pinnacle. You guys are pushing those machines as fast as they'll go, but without the other guy, again, you inevitably wouldn't be quite at, that tip of the spear, going as fast as you could, pushing it to the edge. I mean, it's awesome to see. So getting back to Loretta, so that first moto was the important one, like we said, because you could obviously clinch after the first moto there. So you win that first moto, you wrap up the title. And I know that they don't crown anybody between motos, Joel, but Kevin didn't even really want to go there. It was so funny listening to his word choice. And I thought it was funny how you had to say, just, I don't know how you said it, but you said basically like, just in case you didn't know, that just got the title done. I just thought that was so funny.
Yeah, he told me right when I walked up, he's like, we can't do the oh, I know, get it. But like for me right now, like that was it. Like I just won. So right. I'm gonna
right.
And, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So pressure was off for Moto 2 then, like you said, you uncorked it, and I can see how that would be almost like probably an odd feeling. I caught you saying something on one of Gloop's videos, but you said, I don't really know what I'm going to do right now or whatever you said, but I'm sure that was kind of an odd feeling because at the same time, like, I bet, you're feeling like the pressure is off and you had nothing to worry about, but I mean, you obviously wanted to go out there and put it down, and that's what you did. And you really showcased the speed and the aggression that you're capable of. I mean, at this point, since the beginning, stages of the season, you're obviously thinking with a championship in the back of your mind. In that second moto, you didn't have to. Like you said, you sent that quad into the sand. You were doing all kinds of stuff and just really going for it from the gate drop. So you really showed us what you were capable of, and you put it on those boys. But it did look like, man, I'm going to set a tone right here. And Casey told us that he thought it was important to you to get that overall and win the most overalls on the season too. So was that a focus of yours as well?
Yeah, like ever since I forget what race it was, like you posted how many wins I had overalls. I was like, God dang it, Cody, now you jinxed me. I can't get another one.
We were waiting on 50 for a while, Joel.
I know. That's what I kept myself. I told Carly, I'm like, I have to get this. If I tie with him and to get the championship, it don't look as good as me having 6 wins. And also, like, that's my 50th. I really want to get 50 wins this year. And I was like so determined to get that, and it felt like just forever since the last time I had won. So after Moto 1, there was a couple bets too on the line of like David, the team owner, Phoenix, bet me 2 pistols that I was gonna buy. Was writing them down to give to Harv Whipple because he is a big deal with the Springfield Armory. So I wrote my pistol numbers down and everything. He's like, is that what you want? I'm like, yeah, yep, that's what I want. It's a good amount of money.
Okay.
And he's like, if you win both motos today, I'll buy you the pistols. Like, oh my God.
Now I got to do it.
Now I'm determined. Plus there's, now they got this little, guns hanging from my face, like on a treadmill, guys chasing something. And I was the guns that second moto. So there was some extra motivation is what I'm getting to. Like there was no motivation after Moto 1. It's like, damn, let's go have a cocktail or something. Like I'm thing right now. But then, when he said that and put that in my face, it was like, I obviously still wanted to win and go out, but at that point, I'm like, all right, let's just full bore. Like, let's go out and do everything we can, pull a gap, and that was it. That's what I did.
Yeah, that's awesome. So perfect 1-1 day for you. Like you said, the 50th overall win of your professional career. You're officially crowned the 2022 AMA ATV Pro Class champion, your third title. So how did the feeling of that one compare to the first two? Because from my perspective, it feels like you're in such a different place from that last one in 2019. It just seems like so different. I don't know why. I mean, it's a different machine and stuff, but you just feel like a different guy. And again, this season was so in control compared to some of those other ones where you had to fight from behind and it was back and forth. I mean, this one was yours from the get-go. So how does this one compare? How's that feeling compare to the others?
I would say this is probably one of the highest of highs. Like, the first one obviously was really emotional because it was just my first one. But even that season, like, I wasn't as in control as like right now. And in 2019, we had some bike issues that year. Still did really good, had a lot of wins, but I wasn't as in control as this season. And it's like this year just felt that much better because I don't know, I felt like I was the best guy on the track, and it didn't matter what track we went to. Like, my machine worked so good that I was just confident that I could win anywhere and with a gap. Like, I wasn't just, going to win and do what I've done over previous years, like kind of back it down. Like, I felt like I could just keep going. Like, my fitness was really good. The bike was working awesome. And that's like another thing too, like doing my own training, and like I did all that myself, my nutrition, my training. Like, obviously Brandon Hogue, his tips really helped me. But my own schedule every week, like making that, everything was on me. So like, I had a lot of confidence that I was doing the right work, and I was riding, like the frequency of riding I was getting was just so high that I was so comfortable on my machine. And I think that's what really helped elevate this to be in that much control.
Well, and I feel like there's probably some more gratification that comes from, kind of doing some of all of that stuff yourself, right? Like, we've talked with other guys. We talked with guys like Jeffrey Rastrelli, who, I know that his program's obviously different than yours. You ride for a team, he doesn't. But the more hands-on you are with more aspects of your program, I feel like it's more rewarding. And the more like you're saying with your training and nutrition and stuff, I feel like, again, like that probably makes it feel like it's even that much more rewarding, I would think.
Yeah. Especially when, I'm seeing the results that are working in the right direction for me. And, the guys that were around me that I was training with and helping them too. Like, I felt like everyone was kind of getting better, and in my shoes, like, I felt so good on the bike. I kept telling people I'm so strong on the full wheeler, and it's not just from my training. It's just like from the frequency of riding. Like I said, I was riding really good places, and I was riding a lot. So I think that really helped this year.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm glad that you mentioned the 50 overall wins thing, because I was prepared to ask you, if that meant something to you. It's quite the milestone when you think of 50. I mean, that's so many. I mean, think of winning every race for 5 straight years. I mean, that's crazy. So I was going to ask you if it meant something to you. It obviously meant at least a little something.
Yeah, it means a lot. Like, 50 is a huge milestone. I always like just think, there's guys that race their whole life that, try to get one. And it's just such a competitive field with phenomenal racers. And to get 50 of them is like, it just blows my hat off, man. It's just super cool. And such a great feeling. Like, 50 is a lot. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, it's so badass.
Really cool.
Yeah. So I have to ask, Joel, because you're still a young dude yet. So will you presumably, like, will we see you around for the next, 5+ years, you think? Like, is gunning for a record tying 8 titles or maybe even being the one to surpass it? Like, is that something that you think about at all?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I want to obviously be the best when I'm done. And I'm up against one of the best to ever do it right now. And, I started in his era, I guess you could say, like his winning era. Like, that's where I hopped in at. and, battle with him for these 12 or 11 years of pro class. And
Yep.
like, it's not been easy. Obviously, he's put up a really good fight. I don't know how many championships he's won in those years. I guess 8, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, it's been tough, but now with the new machine and, Phoenix willing to go the distance with me, like David and I talk quite a bit, and, he's in it for as long as I want to race. And that to me is just giving me the motivation to, in my head, when I started racing it as a kid, it's like, I want to be the best ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on the right track right now to do that. So if I can continue to win and be healthy and keep making a living doing this, there's nothing that's going to pull me away in the next 5 to 10 years, even. Like 10's pushing it, but at least 5 to 8, I could see myself really competitively racing for championships. And 9 is the goal. So 6, it's a long time. That's a lot of racing, and that's a lot of winning. So
yeah, that's awesome. I've always said to people when they'd ask me, I told them straight up, I just had this gut feeling. I knew it in my gut that as long as you race, David's going to back you. Like, there was no doubt in my mind that he was going to stick around and be a part of that and support you throughout that. And yeah, like, so here's the thing. This is what I've thought about this now for a couple of years, as we've seen you get better and better. And now, there's like a big difference between 2 and 3. I don't know why. Just, now to think that you're 1 away from being halfway there, it just feels so much different. But with Gary Denton and Chad Wienen, people say you can't compare them because they're different eras. Right. And with you, you've raced Chad all these years, so you can compare your eras. So if you were to get there and possibly surpass him, then there would be no debate. That opportunity is there for you to be like, hey, like, we did it all these years. And Chad took those years to mature and then start winning. And it's kind of, no different than what you did at the beginning, so now if you go on a clip of winning a bunch of these things, very much like he did, shoot, we could find you creeping up on 8. Before we know it.
Yeah, that's the plan, is just keep doing what I'm doing, having fun, and the constant, grind that worked for me this year. Like, I have it all marked down, and I'm ready to obviously enhance it and do better, and just keep developing the bike to be a little bit better, a little bit easier to ride for me. And I think I got a little bit more speed, but man, I don't know how much more.
Being in North Carolina, being, in an area where you can ride some more tracks, being close to the shop, being kind of in that area seemed like maybe that's something that springboarded you this year and is something that is more, is going to bode well going forward. I guess that was something that was kind of in the back of my mind, and you're kind of hitting on that now.
Yeah, for sure. Like, this move to North Carolina was so big for me, and just the ability to test and the ability to have quality machines when I practice. And I don't know, it just kind of enhanced my practice program. And like I said, with all the riding that I was doing, that's kind of where I felt like I gained so much, was the riding part. And, being here and able to do that is, that's something that I wasn't able to do before. So just, I'm happy with the move. We're building a house right now. I'll be happy to get in that, but yeah, it's been super good.
So we think that, Chad's probably got like 1 year left, maybe 2, but it feels to me like he's probably got 1 year left, but there's so much young talent coming up right now. So who do you look at? Do you look at any of those younger guys, like, like possible challengers going forward? Like I said, we got a bunch of young guys with, Max Lindquist has really showed something this season. We know what Bryce Ford is capable of. Brandon Hogue was on another level this year. So what do you think about that? As you look to the future, inevitably, whether it's a year or 2 or 3 or whatever the number is, at some point, Chad isn't going to be the guy that you're battling. So do you look at any of those guys and think, man, he could be the guy? Or is it just an entire group of guys that you think, hey, like, these guys are getting faster and you're going to wait to see who's going to be the challenger?
Yeah, I think, the group is getting faster for sure. There's been races where, let's say 3rd, 4th, and 5th have been a lot closer than previous years at the end of the moto for what, behind me or Chad. I think in particular, Brandon at a couple events really showed that he was capable of doing, what a lot of people don't think can be done, to beat Chad or me in his position at Daytona. But like, he's got the speed, I don't know what he's doing next year for a ride or anything. So we'll see, because it really depends on the deal that he has going for him, or, with all the riders, like the machine they're riding, like it really matters, nowadays, because our machines are just top notch. And not saying Brandon's is not, but if he's going to switch to Yamaha, like that could be, a big perk for him. Like, I just don't know what he's doing, but I feel like he's one of the ones that potentially in the next few years or next year that we'll be battling with more.
Yeah.
Bryce has obviously done really good. I know Jeffrey's going to want to come out and try to perfect those little imperfections he had this past year, and just be more consistent and have some better finishes. So I would hope that, next year there's some battling for that top 3 spot that's different than it has.
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, the battle was phenomenal to watch.
Yeah.
And you did see those guys get, better and better. And we saw Max get up in the middle of you and Chad, and we saw Brandon, I mean, lead that opener. I know Daytona's an outlier a little bit, but he was still there. And so, yeah, I mean, we're seeing guys get closer. And that's an exciting thing for the sport. And I wondered if you picked anybody out, and I figured that you were going to mention Brandon. I know he's a friend of yours, and so we award a most improved pro award each season. And I recently said that Brandon's gotta be the pick. I think I haven't broke down the numbers yet. I haven't had time to break it all down, but I feel like he's the guy. Just based on, the eye test, he looks to me to be the guy that improved more than anybody. And you kind of hinted at some stuff there. I've been hearing some rumors. I don't know what's going to happen, but I will say, I mean, it's a weird deal, because Brandon, a year ago was saying, I need to get back to a Honda. I need to get back to a Honda. I need to get back to a Honda. And he gets with the Music Racing and Repair team. And dude, I mean, they had those 2 DNFs, but other than that, like, they proved to be the perfect combination for him. They really did. And Brett is willing to do anything and everything for him, which is a big deal for him. So I hope that, whatever decision he makes, and again, I don't know any details on anything. I've been hearing some stuff, and I hope that he takes his time to figure out what's best for him, because if he goes away from Brett's deal, I hope he doesn't regret it as soon as he gets there,
Yeah, without a doubt. I hope he makes the right decision for whatever, works best for him. I know the music crew, did him really well. And honestly, like, I told him all year long, like, that's the best looking Honda I've seen in a long time. Like, that thing works really good. It sounds good. He's got good starts. He's been riding it really well. Like, I know he was frustrated with just the issues he had. And I think, like, you talk to me about that stuff, you're not going to, hear anything pleasant about, Honda TRX. Like, I'm going to be brutally honest with you.
Right.
So, I think that kind of, made him think a little bit more too. And, I think he's pushing more towards the Yamaha, but like, I don't know if there's a new team or what he's thinking of. Like, maybe Musics are going to do the Yamaha thing with him. But I don't know at this time. Like, I'm sure he'll, fill me in hopefully soon, but
yeah, I don't know what we can say. I don't know what we can say. I know we're going to have Brandon on the show next week, so we'll try to pin him down and ask him what's going on. But I do know that Brett is willing to do anything and everything to make Brandon happy. I know that was something that he truly enjoyed, was having Brandon ride for him. And yeah, we don't need to touch on that any further, but we also give out a Rising Star award each year, Joel. And we give that to a rider who bursts onto the scene and looks the part of a future pro. So in 2020, we gave it to JJ Launderville. Last season, we gave it to Dane Molander. And I guess, from your role, you're the top dog. I wanted to ask if anybody came to mind for you. And as you think about that, the guy that seems to come to mind for me, and I've said this on previous episodes, but I think it's Aaron Salinas for me. This year, he looked the part of a pro to me. So, and I know, Joe Chambers, there's a plethora of other guys that we could touch on here. Aaron just was the one that seemed to me to look the part of a pro, especially as being a college student, doing all these things. So knowing what he deals with, coming from South Texas, all these factors, to battle through those factors and be as good as he was, I thought that was really impressive. So what do you think? Was there anybody, if I were to ask you to shoot from the hip and give me a guy that you would think was deserving of a Rising Star award, what would you say?
Honestly, I really like your pick because this year I seem like being over with TDR, like me and TDR are pretty good buddies. And
yeah,
I would always go over just on the Sundays that I was there and talk to Aaron a little bit about the track or, some lines that I saw him, hitting or didn't hit in the qualifying or whatever. And every time I talked to him, like he was so appreciative of what I was giving him, just the information, and like he would just absorb it. Like you could tell like he was really into what I was saying, and like, okay, Joel's going to tell me some lines, like, okay, everyone just leave me alone, I'm going to listen. And that's what he did. And then he would come off and not just like not talk to me the rest of the weekend. Like he would come off and be like, that really worked. Or like, I think the other line's a little bit better still. But I really thought that was cool that he took my advice and actually used it, and was really happy that I would come over at the races I was there. So I would say he's a really good pick. He did fit the part. He does battle a lot. They travel, like just the travel, man. Like that's brutal.
Unreal. Yeah, for sure. And I can't imagine a better kid, I mean, what an awesome, respectable young man. Like he's just stand up dude. So awesome to have him on the show. Awesome guy. And he's obviously going to be a great rider in the pro class with you going forward. As the #1 podcast in ATV racing, it's only right that we partner with the industry leaders in suspension tuning. Insert Impact Solutions. Impact Solutions is a full-service ATV and side-by-side suspension center specializing in the revalving and service of your motocross and off-road suspension. With over 25 years of elite-level knowledge, experience, and testing with riders of all ages and ability levels, Casey Greek, Jay Goebel, and the Impact crew strive to exceed clients' expectations for service and setup. Impact Solutions is the official Elka Suspension Service Center of the United States, offering unmatched product knowledge and experience. Whether you're in need of service, parts, warranty, sales, or technical support, Impact Solutions has you covered. Head over to impactsolutionsatv.com or give them a call today.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
The following message is brought to you by Manscaped.com. The Manscaped engineering team has outdone themselves this time, creating the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, now available for purchase in the US and Canada. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, an official sponsor of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, with this exclusive offer of 20% off and free worldwide shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at Manscaped.com. I'm one of the first people to try the new 4.0 and I am blown away. This thing is next level. What sets this trimmer apart from all the rest? The Lawnmower 4.0 gives you the ability to turn the LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. It features a new multi-functioning on-off switch with travel lock for those of us who like to travel. And my favorite, the new trimmer allows you to customize your trim with 4 different guard lengths, an upgrade from its predecessor that only featured 2. If you're listening, you know that good tools are a must, so wait no more to get the best tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at Manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at Manscaped.com by using code DiggingDeep20.
Hey everyone, this is Larry Mills, president of DP Brakes North America and proud partner of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. We at DP Brakes are a longtime supporter of ATV racing and the world leader in sintered brake technology, dominating the ATV world for decades by supporting the best four-wheeled racers on the planet. This year's lineup includes Jeff Rastrelli, Mark Baldwin and Baldwin Motorsports, Ford Brothers Racing, Nick Janusa, and many more, including Mr. Digging Deep himself, Cody Jansen. Plus all the top 17 GNCC pros such as 7-time champion Walker Fowler, Bryson Neal, Hunter Hart, Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, Adam McGill, and previous champion Chris Borich. These top riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer. Products ultimately help place them on top of the podium week after week. DP brakes are available through www.dp-brakes.com or you can purchase them through your local Parts Unlimited stocking dealer, or you can even message us, myself, Larry Mills, or DP Brakes on Instagram or Facebook. And if you have any questions about product or sponsorship support, please ask us. We are waiting for you. Join the best ATV riders in the world equipped with DP Brakes, and have a great year, everyone.
Nearing 2 decades into the brand's existence, Factory 43 is back and better than ever, continuing to make major waves in the ATV world. For the 3rd consecutive season, Factory 43 is the official aluminum parts choice of the Phoenix Racing ATV team, providing their state-of-the-art Evo Nerf bars, MX-style front bumpers, and grab bars for 2-time champ Joel Hetrick. If you're in the market to upgrade your Nerf bars, bumpers, or grab bars, head over to factory43atv.com to see their full line of industry-leading products available for all makes and models. Head over to factory43atv.com today.
Success in the ATV MX world is similar to what creates financial success as well. The right people, the right advice, and more importantly, hard work and the benefit of an ongoing relationship as situations change and adversity is experienced. Do you have the right financial advisor to help you reach your goals? Haymauer Financial Group can create a personalized, goal-based plan to help your family prepare for whatever life brings. Call me, Scott Haymauer, at Haymauer Financial Group, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services, at 920-338-8150. That's 920-338-8150. Offices located in beautiful De Pere, Wisconsin, with registrations and clients nationwide.
Joel, as we turn the page, we finish up here. Final topic as we look ahead. So your season really isn't over. Obviously, all of our listeners know that the Quad Cross of Nations is just over a few weeks from now. So, I mean, have you got back into your riding and training grind after vacationing and celebrating with the family? That's kind of got to be a weird deal. Like, you want to celebrate a little bit, hard fought season, you accomplish the goal, and then you kind of got to jump right back into training and stuff. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's different because, like you said, like I just want to hang out and just relax and kind of do some stuff with my house that's getting built right now and kind of get some paperwork done, stuff like that. Some stuff that's not fun, but it's just that time to do it. And but right now, I think we got 20 something days till I leave, or like, no, less than that, 17 days till I leave.
Okay.
20 something till the race. Well, today's September 1st, and 23 days.
23 days till the race. So I was going to ask you, like, when you leave and stuff.
I leave Sunday, September 18th.
Okay.
And I'll get there Monday afternoon, I think.
Got it. Okay.
Plus 7 hours, different time zone. And then I come back Monday after the race, like pretty directly Monday morning. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I was just going to say my daughter's birthday is the 24th. So that's like the only negative that I'm having with this whole race.
We know that, Joel, because you couldn't go that year. So
see, they should have changed the date. No, I'm just kidding. But
just push it back 1 week or push it forward 1 week. Yeah.
I was going to the director be like, can you guys just please do this for me? But no.
Right. So is the whole family going, or are you just heading over there?
It's just me.
Yeah.
Carly, the rest of my family will be at my house, and they have some friends and family coming in. Some friends from the track, actually, the Jackson family with their 2 boys are coming here.
Okay.
Just to kind of, have some fun with Evelyn for the weekend. Kind of hopefully that diverts her attention that I'm not there, and I come home with like a big trophy or something that I can give her, and she'll be excited. Got it.
That's awesome. Well, obviously, jokes aside, representing Team USA is such an honor. So what are your thoughts going into this year's event? Obviously everybody hopes that you lead the Team USA to their 4th Quad Cross of Nations title. Looks like from what we heard, like the track maybe a little bit more like, kind of like our style, right? Like a little more hard packed. It's not going to be one of those crazy sand tracks like we've seen over some of the seasons. And it sounds like there's some jumps and stuff like that. So I think that bodes well for us, right? Like, I feel like when you guys flexed your muscles the very most was, I think the first year, was that the year where we had the hard pack track with the, off cambers and bigger jumps and stuff. And I feel that this track might not be just like that, but I feel like the more hard packed, the more jumps and stuff we have, the more technical stuff that you guys can do. I feel like that is huge advantage for us.
Yeah. I feel like that's where we'll showcase, our skills. A little bit, easier for us on a track like that because we're just so used to riding that terrain rather than like that sand track with the sidecar ruts in it and stuff like that. Like that's something we're never, riding or used to. And when the track's so hard, it creates their little rut, but nothing too bad. Like Italy, we really showcased how fast we could go, I feel like. And we, Chad and I battled a moto. I think we were like 30 or 40 seconds ahead. So like,
Yeah.
if that's like this, then, it could be the same route.
Have you seen any videos of this place at all?
No, I probably should go watch them, honestly. Right.
So from what I saw, Joel, I don't think it's going to be the same. It's not going to be like that hardcore hard packed like Italy was, but I think it is going to be more like just what we're used to here.
Yeah.
I mean, looks like a motocross track to me, not like a field or a sand pit. It looks like a motocross track. It might get a little rough, but it's going to be what you're used to. I think it's going to be in your wheelhouse, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to take a look because that's probably something the team riders should probably.
Right. Well, you're riding this championship high right now, so that's all right.
Yeah.
But so the one last thing I want to touch on as far as Team USA goes is I wanted to ask you if you had any thoughts on the Bryce Ford topic, being on the team, all that stuff, because I'm sure that's been much debate over the course of the last few months. But Team USA just swept the podium at Loretta's, which I thought was perfect timing for that. And personally, I think that Bryce is going to step up to the plate and he's going to slay it in the Czech Republic there. I feel like everybody, including you guys, is going to be, I don't know, pick him up or whatever the right thing is, give him some advice and some motivation and stuff like that. And I think he's going to slay it, but something I wanted to touch on with you while we had you here.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely been a lot of debate online. I see some of it. I mean, people are just, there's something else with the comments they make, like the kid rides well. Okay. You can't take that away from him. At the end of the day, whatever he said that, this guy didn't like or whoever doesn't like, the kid rides well. He's going to be just fine over there. Like, we're going to help him out, keep the stress off him. You go over some lines and strategy and stuff like that. Like, at least I know I will. I know that Chad would not snub him or nothing like that, but like, I just know how I am and how personable I can be with someone. And especially like him being young and first time there, like I'm going to do the best I can to take him under my wing and just be like, this is what we did. This is what we do. It works really well. Mm-hmm. You could literally ride at 80% and be in a good spot to win a moto. Like, his speed is right there with ours. It's shown. So mm-hmm. I'm not saying like he can ride 80% and whoop everybody's ass, but like he's very fast. So if he can, get that through his head and be like, okay, I'm meant to be here. Like, I'm faster than the guys that I'm on the line with, like, he'll do just fine.
Yeah.
And there's some fast guys, but just like I said, his speed is good. So mm-hmm. I think, if his endurance is there and he just pulls his little gap in his race and can just maintain, like, he's going to be in a good spot, just the same as Chad and I.
Yeah. I mean, he earned the right to be there. He mm-hmm. earned that right. And there's a reason why he got the spot on the team there. So that's no doubt in my mind. And I feel like, that's something that's so special about that event, is that togetherness, that team atmosphere that you guys don't get at any other time. You guys are the main competitors, referencing you and Chad too. You guys are the main competitors at all these races. And then all of a sudden you got to band together and go race on behalf of our country, representing our country. I feel like that's something that's special. I think at some point I might've asked you about this, but I feel like that your kind of relationship with Chad changed a little bit after the first Quad Cross of Nations races, just because the dynamic changed. All of a sudden you saw this other guy and you're like, okay, like we can do this. Like we can work together, on behalf of Team USA. So I feel like that is a cool thing. Like, you guys will always be bonded by mm-hmm. the Team USA thing, until the end of time, basically. And I think that's kind of a special thing.
Yeah, definitely. Going there the first time and all being in a house together and just sharing meals and stuff like that. And, sharing car rides and going to places like we've never been in a different country together, like just kind of relying on each other to do whatever it is that day, directions or, talking to trouble from getting pulled over to, Italian police or whatever or German police, I guess. But yeah, it's just, it's really different. Like you come together as just a couple of buddies. I feel like just because that's what it's like. Like there ain't no one else there that can, speak English fluently with you other than the other teammates. So when you're riding together in the same car, it's just like you BS, just like a normal day. So
I was gonna say, so it's kind of compared like if you saw like an ATV racing person out in a random setting, right? And you might not barely know them, at the races. They might not be somebody you mingle with, but if you see them at Walmart or whatever, like they're your best buddy because you come from the same background. So I feel like, you go to another country and you don't know anybody there. Like you said, nobody can talk that language like you can. And just so happens that, okay, like this is my main competitor in the States, but hey, like we're kind of connected here.
Yeah. We're definitely connected and, if not obligated to be bullshit with each other just because everywhere else it's going to be hard to have hold a conversation. But it turned out to be a good time. Like the dinners we have together and the experience there, it's really cool. And the race is really fun with the fans and their chainsaws with no blade on them, just ripping, and the horns, and like they do it. So I look forward to going and look forward to overseas again. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Joel, what a freaking year for you. And hopefully you can add another title to what was a nearly perfect season for a perfect year for you and your family. But I can't thank you enough for your time. You're always so gracious. These conversations are always so awesome. It's always a pleasure. I always come away from our talks feeling so good and so grateful. I feel like you always give us so much. You're always so genuine, and I appreciate that a ton. So, pal, I just appreciate it more than you know. And wishing you the best of luck, at the Quad Cross of Nations race. Hopefully it's a perfect cap to a perfect year for you. And this is going to go down as one of those seasons that you'll never forget, because here, at least talking about what you did so far, from what you did from March until, August, it's been perfect. And hopefully you can end it, with a perfect cherry on top over there in the Czech Republic.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I hope so too. I know we can, just hope everything goes smoothly. And like you said, just put the cherry on top and come home smiling, because it's a hell of a year, and I'm just so grateful that it panned out the way it did. The work paid off for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that, we saw, like you told us on the show, some of the stuff that you and your family battled last season, right? With the moving and the selling of things, and just real life, real world stuff, personal life stuff. And just so happy for you and the family that this year everything fell into place. It seems like everything happened, maybe the struggles you went through last year helped you benefit this year, and then that's kind of how I saw it. Everything fell into place, and man, like I said, just a perfect year for you. So I can't thank you enough for spending an hour plus of your time here, getting away from daddy daycare and all the stuff you were working on earlier today, giving us a little bit of your time. I appreciate it so much, pal.
No problem, man. I hope people enjoy it. And that's why I like to talk about it. Just, people can hear the real side of the story with me. And like, that's what you get. You get a real story and you get real emotions when I'm on here, I feel like. So I'm happy to do it, and I enjoy doing it. So thank you.
Yeah. Fastest man on the planet. That's your newly crowned 2022 AMA ATV Pro Class National Champion, Joel Hetrick, right here on the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, brought to you by Yamaha. Thanks so much, pal. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Cody.
Man, you got to love that guy. Such a pleasure every time he joins the show. Congrats to Joel Hetrick on title number 3 for him. And from one champion to another, the envy of us all, let's chat with our newly crowned ATV Fantasy champion. All right, guys, it is my pleasure to introduce, brought to you by our friends at Rocky Mountain ATVMC, your one-stop shop for OEM and aftermarket parts, gear, and everything in between to enhance your riding experience. So many of our listeners use our Rocky Mountain link each month, so thank you for all that do, and keep that going because it truly helps us out. Simply click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC logo on our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com, and now, after a long, hard-fought season, it is my pleasure to welcome our 2022 Digging Deep ATV Fantasy League champion, Mr. Curtis Evelo. Curtis, welcome to Digging Deep, and congrats, man. How does it feel?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. And yeah, it was kind of one of those like, wow, I just won.
So Curtis, I received the coolest email from you. So you stated that, after some hesitation, your son convinced you to join our fantasy league and play along with him. And you went on to say what fun it was. You would tell me that, you created all kinds of great conversation between you two, and it forced you two to pay, attention and be critical about the entire class, making decisions based on consistency and drive. So you ended it by saying it was super fun. So tell me a little bit more about that, because that is exactly why, the fantasy league fits so well with what we do here at Digging Deep. It was, it's so seamless to cover the entire class with ATV fantasy, having to focus on everybody. So tell me about that. Tell me about the great time that you guys had, because again, your message was so meaningful to me, Curtis, because that was exactly my goal with it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I'll be honest with you. I wish there was more people we could have shared, just even locally in that same, fun conversations. We would sit and review videos, go on YouTube and review videos, and we talk about, this rider's been a little bit more consistent this year. There's been some things happening, and we got some issues going on in this one. And so it created a dialogue that I think allowed us to be critical of the riders, but not in such a way that we're like, cutting them down, but in a way that we're like, okay, if I was a betting man, if I was a gambling man, I'm gonna put more weight on this one because he's been just a shade more consistent, or you know what, they got a new package, a new deal going this year, and so we're gonna maybe test the waters in that and see how that goes, and so what created was, and my son and I've loved ATV racing, motocross for forever. I mean, he grew up as a little kid racing with us, and we can get into that later, but it was just, it just creates such a fun time that we get to kind of relive some of that excitement. And it's funny because it's like, you tell people I just won the ATV motocross fantasy league, and they're like, fantasy league, what? So what was cool is just having those conversations that actually people started, you could say, opening up to that kind of conversation. And like, really, I had no idea that kind of thing was going on. And you guys race motocross? But I fought that conversation forever, since the early 90s,
Of course you did. Yeah.
Geez, but so that's kind of the conversations that happen. And what I thought was really good was my son and I, we're close. We're close to each other, but what ended up happening for us was we started having conversations that were like, man, did you see that last year? Do you remember what happened last year? And it's like, no, I didn't watch that video. And I go back and I watch it, and then I talk to him about it, or we just stop everything, go in and pop it on YouTube and watch it. And we're like, well, how come we're not racing that track? Well, I don't, so those are the kind of conversations that went on that created the atmosphere for us to pay attention more.
Yeah. That's awesome to hear. Cause again, to think that, we create this league, and I knew it would create a better experience for the fans that were a part of it. But to think, for you, all the trickle down effect that it had, just enhancing your experience across the board, and kind of shows us, Curtis, that you guys really did your homework. Like, you really earned this thing. You didn't just luck into winning this thing, so that's kind of funny. So how did your son do in fantasy? How did his season go?
Where you'll have to look him up. 50th, I think is where Justin ended up. So so you have to look him up. He's on the same he'd be the same name, or J-Man, I think is what he was on the J-Man Racing or something. I don't remember. But yeah.
But so you guys were competitive all season long against each other, I'm sure. And it
was so funny because at dinner time sometimes it'd be like, oh, guess who's ahead of the other guy, and so we just poke fun at each other, and and it's like, oh, who's leading in points this week? Wife and everybody sitting around the dinner table on Sunday, so it was good stuff.
That's funny. So last year, I can't remember exactly like how it broke down, but like my parents tied for like second and third. They were like second and third, and I was fourth or something like that. Like we were all in this cluster. It was like third, fourth, fifth. I mean, it was something all in the top 5. And I thought people were going to think we're cheating, but you could also see that we would talk about it, right? We would break down like how we're, how things are going to go this weekend or whatever. And our teams would inevitably be like the same without talking to each other. So it's funny to see how that goes. And this year, Curtis, you guys walked us. I mean, I think I was way back. I think I'm like 40 something or whatever.
So Justin's end result, ending of the season, doesn't show his consistency staying basically right with me. Okay. We would swap back and forth. If you go back and look at probably the stats of that, there was some times he picked some guys that ended up breaking or having trouble. Yeah. And all of a sudden it was I'd just turn to him. We'd be on the tractor or, he'd be in the tractor and I'd come ripping up on the 4-wheeler. I'd be like pointing at him and laughing and be like, you just went down, so that's the kind of stuff that it created. So I guess, to cap off what you're saying, I hope that more people get into that kind of stuff, and it's okay to razz and have some fun with it. And what was really neat was seeing he beat Corey Ellis.
Okay.
And so he was like a point or two ahead of Corey Ellis. I snapshotted that. I screenshotted that, and I sent that to Joe Bird, and I said, look who just beat Corey Ellis. And Joe just had a fun time with that. Oh my goodness. We had a good time with that.
That's awesome. That was one of the things I remember saying to our champion last year is, you beat name whoever, you beat Bryce Ford, you beat Brett Musick, you beat, Corey Ellis. Like you just said, you beat all these guys. So that's fun too. There's legends in there, which is awesome to compete against them. So, Curtis, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you ever led the points, right? I don't think you ever led until the dust settled
until the very end
when it counted. So like how far back were you at any given point this season? Do you remember that?
So I do think I was in the top 50 for quite some time consistently.
Okay.
And then I'd have to go back and look again, but I think about midway through, I'll tell you when it happened, when I got ahead or when I started getting up into that 20th position or so. But for a long time, it was tied. So it was tied 35th place or whatever. And there was 10 of us in that position, and so I just kind of kept staying consistent. But I started kind of noticing that creeping up. And I'm like, I just might win this thing because I was only 2 points behind the leader going into the last race. And I'm like, I would just beat him. So it was good stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So at a ride day this past weekend, the kid that was leading for a good chunk of the season, he was there and about midway, it was at Sunset Ridge. I specifically remember him walking around with his chest out, and he's talking about how he's going to win the fantasy league. And I think he went into the finale leading. He led almost the whole season. He had like a 17 or 15 point lead at some point, which is big in the game because it's so nip and tuck. Yeah. And you end up knocking him off at the end. It was just, it was amazing. I had to give him some crap for you this weekend because, but like I said, I knew that you weren't up front, you weren't at the front all season long. So what a comeback.
Right. Yeah. No, I was staying steady. But one of the greatest things happened to me was at let's see, Iron Man. So that was probably it was the game changer for me because I was like, all right, I still got some stuff here. It's some wise moves. So we moved on from there. So
so like, did you have DeNoble or
oh yeah,
you did, yeah, and he paid off so big.
So that was one of those things that my fantasy you could say run to the top really changed the moment that you said, what if, Nick? What if it rains? And I'm like, yeah, what if? Because Nick is good at that in that mud.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah, you don't say. You don't say.
yeah. So I was like, all right. So we went for it, and yeah, that was quite funny.
Well, and what made that so big in the game is, that tier 4 would typically like a big score in tier 4 is like 20 points or 21 points or whatever.
Right.
Well, he scored like 36 that day. So that was 15 points that nobody was expecting to score. I mean, that's a big boost again in the game. So, so I wondered if that's what you were going to say when you started to say that everything turned
What
around.
if?
There you go. Yeah.
Insurance. It's not something everyone likes to talk about, but let's face it, if you race motocross, it's something you should have. Integrative Financial Concepts is an independent financial service and insurance firm who offers moto-friendly insurance and helps out riders like Nick Janusa, Jeffrey Rastrelli, and Joel Hetrick gain confidence on the track. With their unique Safe to Race and Safe to Ride programs, if you qualify, they have the ability to offer life insurance with living benefits to those who ride. With these living benefits, you may have the ability to access a portion of your life insurance policy while you're still living for things like cancer, heart attack, stroke, or chronic illness. They can also help with many other things, such as home, auto, motorhome, and trailer insurance, as well as college planning, special needs planning, payroll processing, as well as group health benefits for your business. So whether something happens on or off the track, Integrated Financial Concepts has you covered. With their complimentary one-on-one appointments, what are you waiting for? Reach out to Mike Daniele at DANIELE_Michael at nlgroupmail.com today and see how Integrated Financial Concepts can help you. Living benefit riders are supplemental benefits that can be added to a life insurance policy and are not suitable unless you have the need for life insurance. Riders are optional and may require additional premium and may not be available in all states or on all products. This is not a solicitation for any specific insurance policy.
Just like the sport of ATV motocross as a whole, our Digging Deep community is brought together by the love for racing that we all share. Our sport is compiled of many great people, and leading that charge is the Launderville family at Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. This racing-owned family business is a steel and concrete supplier serving the entire United States. Launderville Steel is a full-service steel supplier of new and surplus steel, aluminum, and stainless steel products headlined by their 4130 chromoly tubing and plate used in the building of chassis for ATVs and UTVs, off-road truck racing, late model dirt and pro tractor pulling series, drag racing, and more. Launderville Steel loves their racing just as much as we do, but don't forget about their concrete division as well. With over 25 years of experience, the Concrete Division can supply everything you need to complete your next business or personal project. Their central Midwest location enables LSE to easily serve customers across the United States. For a quote, additional info, answers to more of your questions, or to talk a little racing, head over to laundervillesteel.com or give them a call today. We are proud to be partnered with yet another racer-owned company. Thank you, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. Here at Digging Deep, we have an obvious passion for ATVs and pridefully enjoy sharing the sport's history. Since 2019, when the podcast was born, we've been working to partner with individuals who share our passion, but one man and his vision had been missing from our partnership group. Until now. When it comes to the sport's history, the hallowed grounds of Binky's Forever ATC Museum has it all. Binky Tapscott's mind-blowing collection of 3- and 4-wheelers has preserved history by spanning all makes and models from Honda 3-wheelers in chronological order to unique builds that shaped ATV racing as we know it, like Doug Gust's iconic DRZ-powered hybrid thumper and everything in between. There's no denying Binky's passion, a passion that we certainly relate to here at Digging Deep. Binky's goal is to share his amazing collection with fellow enthusiasts by making his prized possessions accessible to the public via scheduled visits. Follow Forever ATC Museum on Facebook and watch foreveratc.com for further updates on possibly getting a chance to see Binky's Forever ATC Museum for yourself. We are proud to welcome Binky's Forever ATC Museum to the Digging Deep family. We recite on every Digging Deep episode that we are all about aligning with others who share our passion and love for ATVs, and that's exactly what Blendzall is. For more than 60 years, Blendzall Racing Oil has been the secret choice of many championship-winning riders and engine builders. From World Championship kart racing in Europe to California Speedway racing or the mud and rocks of East Coast cross-country racing, thousands of hardcore racers know that nothing out-lubricates or outperforms Blendzall. Even with Blendzall's wide reach into all forms of racing, Blendzall's lead man David Schloss admits that ATV riders are his people. In fact, he's been an ATV enthusiast since 1986 when he first threw a leg over a Suzuki Quad Sport 230. Fun fact, his passion for ATV racing even led him to launch a popular ATV racing magazine in the mid-2000s called ATV Insider. So Blendzall is a small family-owned business that blends and bottles all of its products in Ohio and has ATV roots. Sign us up. That's why Blendzall is the oil choice of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. To learn more about Blendzall's rich heritage or to shop Blendzall's full line of 2T and 4T racing lubricants, visit Blendzall.com and follow them at Blendzall on Instagram. Evans Waterless Power Sports Coolant. The best power sports coolant on the market, Evans prevents overheating and boilover so you need not worry about harming your engine or suffering a premature end to your ride no matter what the conditions. Designed for use in ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, and other power sports equipment, when conditions are at their worst, Evans is at its best. Upgrade to Evans now to avoid overheating and boilover next time you hit the track or trail. Use discount code DIGGINGDEEP20 at checkout to save at evanscoolant.com. Thanks for listening, and remember to support our partners. Now back to the show. So, and you wouldn't have won any events this season, did you?
No, in fact, it was so funny because I was like always like 2 points or 4 points behind every single time. And so you had those T-shirts that said,
event winner.
I just can't.
Those. Yeah, the I just can't win. I had to buy a shirt because I can't win.
Yeah. And so I was sitting there laughing. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to break down and buy one of them because it's like I'm always right there, but I'm not. I just can't close the door on it. So
right there you go. Well, the consistency is key, like you said. That was how my season was last year. I never won an event, but I think I finished second or third in points. So you might not get a shirt that says that, Curtis, but you're gonna have a nice big trophy. You're gonna have a nice trophy with your name on it saying champion. So
right on.
So that's awesome. So perfect at the final round. You tied for 19th. That was good enough to get the job done. You win the thing by 2 points. Were you stressing over the picks going into the finale? Because now, I'm prepared with these questions, but having listened to you for the last 10 or 15 minutes, I can tell that you probably did. There probably was at least a little pressure.
So I was like, just going into it, I mean, every single race, if you go back and look, I probably picked Brandon Hogue probably, I don't know, 60% of the time because he was what I call steady Eddie. He was the guy that just you knew was going to, at least if he was going to finish, he was going to finish well and finish, get you some points and stay steady like that. But I was getting there going, going into Loretta's is a fast track. It's most of it's dry slick, good jumps. And Joel is just fast on that stuff. It just always has been. And I remember when he was racing the mods, the 90 mods, and it's just wicked fast on that and on that particular track, but I was going in, I'm like, okay, so if I got Joel and I got Brandon, I'm sticking with those two going in. And then I started kind of backtracking on my picks for tier 4 because I was like, I don't know how Merriman's gonna do on this one, and I just about didn't pick him. And then what was it, tier 3? Gosh, I can't remember who I picked in that.
I think you had Stanfield.
Yeah, Stanfield. And I almost did not pick him too. And I'm like, of course, Stanfield's been another one of those steady guys, that just puts things together at the right time, so.
Yeah, he's rock solid as far as being consistent. Stanfield is the lock there. So for me, I feel like I overthink it sometimes. Actually, I was telling Brandon this on Thursday. Brandon comes over to my pit and he was a lock. He was a lock for my team. Hogue is a lock for my team because he comes over and he says, he's talking about winning this thing. He's like, I don't want to be third. I'm not thinking about even third in points. I'm not thinking about any of this, thinking about winning this weekend. That's what I'm focused on. I really want to be up there with those guys. So I'm like, okay, so Brandon's going for it. We don't know if Joel's totally going for it, with his point situation. So I know Brandon's locked in on my team. And then, I overthink it because as the moderator of the game or whatever, I'm like, man, like if everything goes perfect and everybody has the exact same team, I'm going to have to send out 80 prizes, and that's going to be really bad for me. So then I start to I think that affects my team. If I'm being honest, I start to pick obscure picks for that exact reason. So I swear that I need to break out of that.
Yeah, you need to break out of that. Just play the game, man.
Yeah. So kind of funny how all that goes. But man, I'm stoked for you. I need to take notes because, like I said, I went from being top 5 last year to not even being close this year. So yeah, you guys really put me to shame. So the last 2 things I want to touch on, we touched on it a little bit already, or you hinted at it. So the first of which is I'd like to know, I guess, how you and your son are connected to ATV motocross. It sounds like you guys would have been racers, maybe not now, but in the past. So tell me that story a little bit.
Yeah. So this just kind of goes back into the early 90s, racing motocross ATV for a long time. And Jiminy's, we did that and race local and the state stuff, and then what was it, 90, I think 98, it was 97. I come up with the idea. I was like, you know what, we need to have some way to get some big pro from the nationals to come up and give some riding schools and stuff. So, or give some lessons. And so my wife actually put it together in 98. Joe Bird flew up here and we put on the first riding school for the state of Montana. And then, I kept racing and doing such. And then we kept doing riding schools with Joe every year, have him up here 1 to 2 times a year. And then I actually just started helping him put the riding schools together, helped, facilitate the riding schools, but also helped at the riding schools with the riders and some of the stuff. And so that ended up being kind of that end of the spectrum. So my kids grew up knowing Joe Bird as Uncle Joe, so we went on vacation with them and we just had just a bunch of fun all the time, and so that's kind of how that all got going. But then I stopped racing in 2002, I think, and stopped racing the state stuff. I raced indoor stadium with guys like Nick Grunland, JD Goins, some of the older guys, racing indoor stuff with them, because winter's up here, obviously you can't ride, so you got to find the indoor stuff to ride. So I just wanted to be on the bike and just stay going. Well, I was transitioning from there going into the work series. So that's because that over here in our area, that would be the bigger national racing that you could do, that would be feasible for us to drive to. Like we talked earlier, for me to drive to a national is 30 hours, 40 hours, would be a long jaunt. But
right.
So that's kind of how that got going. And racing in the work series, I raced the pro class against guys like Josh Frederick, Doug Eichner, Brandon Brown, let's see, Mark Holes. So that was all of our time period of when we raced. And my son raced the nationals, national work series with his little 50 LEM 50, a modified 50, and modified suspension motor, all that stuff. Had a KTM motor in it, and it was just a fun little bike. And then he also raced the stock 90 class, so he raced a Casilla 90 at that time. And I have pictures of him at 5 years old, 6 years old, holding up the little number one, and I think he won third at the work series one time. And so that's kind of where we were. In 2006, I had to retire from racing because of shoulder injury that just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I had 3 shoulder surgeries, and shoulder's kind of like a Rubik's Cube right now. You get it in the right spot, you can pop the whole thing apart. So the muscle wasn't the issue. It was the actual mechanics of the shoulder. And so it wound up being kind Kind of like Joe always joked with me. He's like, "Oh, what are you doing? Sitting on the couch eating donuts and drinking chocolate milk?" Yep, that's where we ended up at now, Joe. So yeah, but that's kind of where it ended. And then that time period kind of came in where, if you remember 2008, 2007, 2008, the world economics just went downhill in a hurry. And I lost sponsors, not only sponsors, but also, our ATV racing business that we had selling parts and stuff was kind of struggling.
Yep.
And we just weren't going to be able to make it to where we could continue pushing and getting the racing end of it, to get Justin to continue on and to keep going. So I decided to retire, and we kind of pulled up all of that, and that's where it ends. And then we've always had a love for ATVs and such, and motocross racing, all of that. I still had plenty of bikes left around and stuff. And finally, 2 years ago, I finally sold off my last one. And I was like, are you kidding me? I just sold off my last. It was a Lovins chassis, 330R, long travel. I mean, it was just everything, Herman front end, Herman rear end, everything. It was just a sweet bike. And I started kicking myself. I'm like, why did I just do that? So, and that was my indoor stadium bike that I rode, and man, what a fun time that was. So, but yeah, so now we're rebuilding two 250Rs, and just having a fun time doing it right now. So yeah, it's going to be some fun stuff.
That's awesome. I mean, we talk with so many people that it's like, man, when you got it in your blood, like you're never going to, you're never going to rid yourself of that. And I mean, you're kind of spelling that exact thing out for me, like you stopped racing however many years ago, held on to the things for forever, and are still like into the ATV motocross scene, that's actually really, really cool. Like I love that thought that, some of the stuff that we're doing is still keeping, it easing that process maybe of not being the racer anymore, but you're still able to be a part of it. Like I think that filling that void is a big thing. Yeah. I mean, seeing some of them guys now doing some of that, it's like, yeah, I used to could. There's no way I'd be able to do it now, But what's really fun about what makes the ATV motocross and ATV, racing in general, just the overall umbrella of ATV racing. So whether desert works, it's the people. The people are just I can't explain it. And I know what I'm saying. I do.
They're just different. It's just a different group of people. They love each other, care for each other. You could, be sitting there in the side of the pits, and people will be like, hey, what parts do you need? Where do you need help with? Can I help you do this or whatever, So yeah, it's just the people.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's the people. And I think it's the fact that those people get us, we interact with so many people in our day-to-day lives. And if we have this love for ATV racing, and it's a niche thing, right? So there's a lot of people that just don't understand it. They might not understand racing in general and being a racing or a racing enthusiast, but they really don't understand ATV racing enthusiasts like we are. And when you find other ATV racing enthusiasts, you just click because you speak the same language.
Same language.
Yeah. So that's
totally,
that's amazing.
Yeah. And it's, so you kind of look back at what kind of happened with me stepping out. I was able to race in the pro class. I dropped the gate with Doug Eichner, Josh Frederick. I got the whole shot one time. I mean, that was like a win for me.
Of course. Yeah.
Led that for a little bit, had the fastest lap time for one lap against all of these guys. And I'll never forget, we're sitting there at the line, and I'm just shaking. I'm just nervous as I'll get out, and my mechanic's standing there. He's a good friend of mine. He raced in the vet class.
Okay.
So we raced opposite days, and he's standing there, and he's like, nudges me on the shoulder. He said, "What's your problem? What are you nervous about?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm sitting next to Doug Eichner and Josh Frederick." I started listing off all the guys, I'm sitting next to.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, but they're sitting next to you. He said, go out, get the whole shot and lead the race. And I'm like, that sounds simple, doesn't it? And then I pull the whole shot and I'm like, holy crap.
That's awesome, man.
So,
Priceless memories, right? I mean, memories you'll literally never forget.
Yeah. And so that always wound up being some of the big stories and fun times we get to have. And the traveling, the being able to go to the sand dunes and just do the fun stuff as a family and as a group. And man, it was just always just so much fun to be part of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think same for me. I mean, that's what, even from my like hiatus earlier this season, I mean, I missed the car rides. I missed the trips. I just missed all the little things, so it makes you appreciate it that much more when you're able to, go back and do it again. So the other thing I wanted to touch on, Curtis, is the fact that you mentioned to me previously that you're involved with a podcast. So I'm looking at you right now on the other side of our video here, and you got the boom and you got all the equipment and stuff. So you're involved in a podcast of some kind. So tell me about that.
So that's a biblical theological podcast that we actually people, you could say it's an apologetics podcast. So it's apologetics isn't meaning that we apologize for the Bible or any of that. It's a Greek word for apologia, and what it means is give a defense for. So we break down ideas and strongholds that people may have or questions that people may have, and we actually help theologically bring that out to them and show them the real Bible, what it's all about.
Okay.
And proclaim that to people. And so that's kind of what we do. We get into some pretty heavy stuff. People have some pretty crazy questions, but it's really good. And so we're part of a bigger umbrella ministry called Bellator Christi. So so that's what we're under.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Like I'm one of those guys that always willing and wanting to learn things. So I feel like that's kind of fits in my wheelhouse there with that. So where can people find your podcast there?
So that would be, you could go to bellatorchristi.com, and or you could find it even on Facebook. You go to Bellator Christi, find us there. But we also are on Apple, iTunes, Stitcher, all of those platforms. But the easiest way to go to the link, go to the website, and then find the podcast links there.
Got it. Yeah, that's like I said, I'm glad I asked about that, because even so, I went to parochial school my whole educational life coming up, and I still find myself wondering. I have questions now that I'm like, man, I wish I could go back in time and just suck it up a little more or whatever, or listen a little better, because your perspective changes as you get older. When you're getting taught things in fourth or fifth or sixth grade, you think of things differently as you do now. So I don't even mean it in a critical way. I just mean in an educational way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's
and that's really what our that whole ministry is wrapped around. And that whole end of the podcast was, we're taking big theological ideas that are real high and lofty ideas and bring them down to what you could call street level. I'm the street level guy. I've got a good friend of mine who's going to be holding a doctorate. He's going for his dissertation, but he's a theologian, and so he talks big words and big stuff, and I'm like, okay, we need to stop here, because that's not how not the street people think, okay, bud? So we got to talk a little bit, so we bring it down and we help bring those things out into the light and let people see that some of that stuff may sound big and deep and theological, but really it's pretty simple, breaking it down. So
yeah, I'm glad I asked. That's something that I'm going to check out. I'm sure some of our listeners will too. So you have the voice for it. You're articulate. I love it. I love it. This has been an awesome conversation, and man, I'm stoked for you. I'm stoked on you winning this championship, man.
Yeah, and it was funny because I told Justin, I said, dude, I just won. And actually, he told me, he come up, he's like, because we were sitting there waiting for because it took forever. I don't know what it was, but this last one took forever to get. And I'm like, is Cody playing games with us or what? I'm
no, it took forever. It took forever because I raced pro sport that day too. So like I had all this stuff going on with my own thing. And my fear was sometimes they put out the points and like the series does, and they're not right. So I didn't want to just like take the points,
publish it,
and have it be wrong. And my biggest fear was to have somebody think they won and then have them not actually have won. So like I see, I get in at like 9 or 10 o'clock there at Loretta's that night into the rig. And I start looking at the points. So I start doing all the math and then, start plugging it in. And then I'm thinking, man, like, what if we don't have one single winner? Like, what if we have a tie? Then what do we do? So you're right. It did take me a long time. And I thought that I'm like, I wanted to get it out right away. And last year I didn't go to Briarcliff, the finale. I wasn't there. So I was able to get it out like right away. And that wasn't the case this year, but man, either way, whether you had to wait, a minute or a day, like you won this thing. So
yeah, Justin was sitting there. He's like, kept checking his phone. We're having dinner and he kept checking. He's like, you just won. I'm like, I just won. Are you kidding me? So yeah, it was good. It was good things. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, congrats again on this championship. You have a bunch of cool awards and prizes coming your way. We'll get in touch with you regarding that in the next couple of weeks, as with the rest of our top 15 in the championship. Those finishers will get some prizes as well. But Pal, I can't thank you enough for this conversation. I can't thank you enough for playing along. And thanks to everybody who played ATV Fantasy this season. I think this thing is just going to keep on growing. I hope that more people are intrigued after a conversation like this. And again, it was so perfect. The email you sent me was so perfect. Just talking about, the conversations that you guys were able to have, the fun you were able to have. Again, the thing that I've been saying from the beginning is I hope that ATV Fantasy could enhance the fan experience. And I have no doubt in my mind that we have been able to do that for sure. And you verified that for me.
Yeah. I think as years go on, I think there can be, some real good team building environments for people to be able to start watching. And what's really cool is we didn't just pay attention to the pro class. We paid attention to who's coming up, Laundervan and some of these other guys. And we're like, hey, let's pay attention to some of these other guys, see what's coming up, how they're riding. Are they so as they're being consistent in their class, you're like, all right,
you're scouting these guys already. You're scouting these guys already. Oh my God, you're next level. This is why you won. This is exactly why you won. That's amazing.
Oh, what a fun time. It was a good time.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. Well, congrats again. Again, I couldn't have picked somebody better to win this thing, man. Like this is such a fun conversation, so much fun. So I just can't thank you enough for playing, Curtis. Congrats on the title, and the rest of us are gonna have to bring our best next season to try to knock you off the top. You're scouting, you're doing all these things, but for the next year or so, this throne is yours, buddy. So enjoy it.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you, and thanks for putting it together. And it's one of those where I was like, yeah, we could probably do it, I suppose, and I'm just glad that we did, because it sparked something in us. We're building two 250Rs together, and, we're having a bunch of fun doing it, kind of having a little bit of shop talk. We haven't even been able to get out and ride them for real. I mean, up and down the dirt road around the ranch, and it really isn't riding them, so we just, so it's gonna create a good atmosphere, and I hope other people kind of, I guess, take this and run with it and create some shop talk around it, some bench racing, and just some good old harassing and poking fun of,
Yeah, well, there was a lot of people, at the ride day this past weekend saying, hey, they're like fiending for it. They're like, we need to put together ATV Fantasy for Quad Cross of Nations. We can get all of the guys in there. We'll get all the countries. You'll get all, so much more people playing the game. So the people want it. And it's funny because you hear the riders, they got people telling them, you got to do it today.
Yeah.
You're on my fantasy team.
It's like you're putting extra pressure on me.
Exactly. Or I remember Logan Stanfield saying to me, he's like, yeah, I've had a couple people say to me, man, you blew it for me today. You know, like,
are you kidding?
No, so it's you got people like Casey he's talked about on the podcast. You know, he's telling these guys, you know, you got to do it, you know, for me today. You're on my team. So it's funny how that all goes. But yeah, I think it's made some waves in the ATV racing world, and they've all been good. So
yeah, I think riders are their biggest critics. You know, they really are.
Right.
But if this creates a fan base where they can kind of know that they might get a little bit of poking, that might be a little bit of motivation, but for the most part, just having a fan come up to you and say, hey, you're on my team, or hey, you let me down this week, you know, you kind of don't take it to heart too bad. Just be thankful you got a fan, you got people paying attention, you know.
Exactly. So I think, and I know I've said this on the show before, but I think back, you know, if this would have been a thing when I was racing the pro class, and you know, like, just to think, like, people would have been, you know, they would have been forced to pick me or some of the guys I was racing against in being part of their team for that day. I just think that's the coolest thing. So like, I think, you know, myself and Sean Taylor and Ronnie Hagerson and some of those guys that, you know, I was racing against every weekend, that would be extra incentive for me to want to beat those guys, you know, like I know it would be for a fact. So,
you put that extra pressure. Yep.
Yeah. So it's just it's an awesome time, and I'm glad that
find that extra 0.5% or even 1% to push yourself just that much more.
Yeah, exactly. I just, like I said, I think it's the coolest thing. Well, Curtis, we could do this all night long. So I just want to thank you again for playing with us. Congrats on the win. Thank your son for us as well. And man, you're coming in with the target on your back. So hopefully we'll see what you can do next season. But again, pal, I can't thank you enough for everything.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on, and we'll look at it for next year.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Curtis. That's Curtis Evelo, your 2022 Digging Deep ATV Fantasy Season Champion, brought to you by Rocky Mountain ATVMC. Congrats, buddy. Take care.
Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Man, another rad episode. Join us again next week as we dig deep with the main contenders for this season's highly coveted top 3 spot, as Brandon Hogue and Bryce Ford will join us. Really looking forward to that. Major thanks to producer Dallas Jansen, my brother, for all his hard work. Thanks to Brooke and AMA official Harv Whipple. Thanks to all of our donors. You know who you are. We appreciate you so much. Thanks to all of our partners. CST Tires. Go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Thanks to SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Nemura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Impact Solutions, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, the financial advice of the Haymauer Financial Group, Forworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Factory 43, Integrative Financial Concepts and their Safe to Race and Safe to Ride insurance programs, Binky's Forever ATC Museum, Blendzall Oil, the official oil choice of Digging Deep, Evans Waterless Power Sports Coolant, Walsh Racecraft, and Manscaped to get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Support the brands that support our show, and don't forget to use those codes to save. You can find it all on our website, and be sure to click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner for all your gear and parts needs and to help us out. And most of all, thanks to you guys for listening. Our show merchandise, including our new Legends Never Die tees that we basically sold out of at the ride day, they've went over so well, is all available at shop.diggingdeepatvmx.com. So check that out. This new merch drop is so rad. People are loving it. If you're looking for another easy way to help support us, visit our website and click the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee buttons. This allows you to set up a one-time or monthly contribution to support our efforts. And don't forget that you can call our voicemail line. Give us your reaction to the show, some past races, or everything in between. We want to hear from you, so give us a call so we can react to what you have to say on the show. The number is 920-569-3519. You can follow the show on social media, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, and myself, Cody Jansen, for additional content, coverage, and more fun stuff as we transition into the off season. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. All episodes, additional podcast providers, sponsor links and discount codes, show merchandise, fantasy info, and more can all be found on our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com, so check that out today. Be a friend, tell a friend, please download, subscribe, rate, review, and share. And with that, For Joel Hetrick, Curtis Evelo, Brooke Catherine, Dallas Jansen, and I'm your host, Cody Jansen. Thanks for listening to and making us the #1 podcast in ATV racing, with nearly 174,000 downloads last month in 94 total countries. Until next time, thanks for joining us in digging deep with the stars of ATV Motocross. Things are crashing and burning here at the Digging Deep podcast, much like the Titanic.
Those guys were hauling ass, for real.
I remember watching Doug Gus, I don't know who it was, Steel City, running the same times Friday afternoon as James Stewart was on Sunday back then. It was mental. I've never seen quads go that fast.
Quad leaders are freaking gnarly.